He escaped a forest that should have killed him, only to lose his heart to the woman who saved him. Lost in the wild for 5 days, Cowboy Jacob Wilder found his way out and stumbled into a love he never saw coming. Sometimes you must get completely lost to finally find where you belong. The forest nearly claimed him. She gave him a reason to survive. The sun had abandoned Jacob Wilder 3 days ago, hidden behind clouds thick as wool and gray as gunmetal. 10 years he had worked these lands. 10 years of driving cattle, mending fences, and sleeping under stars that now refused to show themselves. None of those years had prepared him for the wilderness that swallowed him whole when his horse stumbled into a ravine, leaving him stranded in a forest no map had ever named. Jacob pressed forward through the undergrowth, his boots heavy with mud, his canteen nearly empty. The trees here grew so close together that their branches wove into a ceiling above him, blocking what little light remained. Every direction looked the same, endless columns of pine and oak stretching toward an invisible sky. He thought of home. He thought of the small town of Copper Ridge, where the general store sold penny candy and the church bells rang every Sunday morning. He thought of warm bread from the bakery, of friendly faces tipping their hats in greeting. Most of all, he thought of surviving long enough to see it all again. On the 4th morning, Jacob found a stream. He fell to his knees beside it, cupping the cold water in his hands and drinking until his stomach ached. The water tasted of minerals and life, and for the first time since entering this green prison, he allowed himself to believe he might escape it. He followed the stream east, remembering what his father had taught him before the fever took him. Water flows downhill, and downhill leads to valleys, and valleys lead to people. The wisdom of a dead man guiding a lost one through the wilderness. The forest changed as he walked. The trees grew shorter, the undergrowth less dense. Sunlight began to peek through the canopy in golden columns that warmed his weathered face. Birds sang overhead, their melodies replacing the oppressive silence that had haunted his journey. By the 5th day, Jacob emerged from the tree line onto a ridge overlooking a valley he did not recognize. But there, nestled beside a winding river, sat a town. It was smaller than Copper Ridge, perhaps only a dozen buildings clustered around a single dirt road, but it was civilization. It was hope. He descended the ridge with renewed strength, his legs carrying him forward even as his body screamed for rest. The town grew larger with each step, details emerging from the distance. A water tower painted red, a livery stable with horses in the corral, a 2-story building with a sign he could not yet read. The sun hung low in the sky when Jacob finally walked onto the main street of Miller's Crossing. Townsfolk stopped to stare at the stranger covered in mud and scratches, his clothes torn by thorns, his beard grown wild over nearly a week without a razor. He must have looked like a ghost risen from the earth itself. A woman stepped off the wooden sidewalk and approached him. She wore a simple blue dress, her auburn hair pinned back beneath a modest bonnet. Her eyes, green as the forest he had just escaped, studied him with concern rather than fear.
"Mister, you look like you have been through something terrible," she said, her voice gentle but steady. "When did you last eat?"
Jacob opened his mouth to answer, but words failed him. The exhaustion he had been holding at bay crashed over him like a wave. His knees buckled, and the world tilted sideways. He felt arms catch him before darkness took over. Jacob woke in a bed softer than any he had known. Sunlight streamed through a window dressed in white curtains, and the smell of something cooking drifted from somewhere nearby. He tried to sit up, but his body protested with aches that ran bone deep. Easy now. The woman from the street appeared beside him, pressing a gentle hand against his shoulder. "You have been asleep for almost 2 days. Your body needs more rest." 2 days? Jacob's voice came out rough, barely more than a whisper. She nodded, lifting a glass of water to his lips. "I am Clara Bishop. You collapsed right in front of my boarding house, so I had some of the men carry you inside. Dr. Hinson checked you over, said you were mostly suffering from exhaustion and hunger. No broken bones, no fever. You were lucky." Jacob drank deeply before speaking again. I got lost in the forest up north. My horse went down in a ravine. I walked for days trying to find my way out. Clara's eyes softened with sympathy. That forest has claimed better men than either of us would want to count. You must have a strong will to survive. Stubborn, my mother called it. A ghost of a smile crossed his cracked lips. I owe you my gratitude, Miss Bishop. I have no money to pay for this kindness, but I can work. Whatever needs doing, I can do it. We can discuss that when you are healthy, Clara replied, standing from the chair beside his bed. For now, rest. I will bring you something to eat. Over the following weeks, Jacob recovered under Clara's care. He learned that she had inherited the boarding house from her late father 2 years prior and had been running it alone ever since. She was 26 years old, unmarried, and possessed of a sharp wit that she wielded like other women wielded fans, with precision and purpose. True to his word, Jacob worked to repay her kindness. He repaired the leaking roof, built a new fence around the vegetable garden, and fixed the crooked stairs that had troubled her for months. He chopped firewood until there was enough stacked beside the house to last 2 winters. He painted the exterior, cleaned the stable, and replaced rotted floorboards in the parlor. With each passing day, he found more reasons to stay. Clara had a way of making ordinary moments feel extraordinary. When she laughed at his terrible attempts at cooking, the sound filled him with warmth no fire could match. When she read aloud from her collection of novels in the evenings, her voice transported him to worlds far beyond the frontier. When their hands accidentally touched while reaching for the same dish at supper, electricity sparked between them like lightning before a storm. But Jacob was not foolish enough to mistake hospitality for affection. Clara was kind to everyone who passed through her doors. She nursed sick travelers back to health, offered credit to those who could not pay, and donated her time to the small schoolhouse down the road. Her heart was generous by nature, not by selection. One evening, as autumn painted the valley in shades of gold and crimson, Jacob made his decision. He would return to Copper Ridge. His absence had stretched beyond explanation, and whatever life waited for him there needed to be addressed. He would sell his small plot of land, settle his debts, and then, perhaps, he would return to Miller's Crossing. Perhaps Clara would still be here. Perhaps she would welcome him back. He found her on the porch, watching the sunset turn the sky into a canvas of orange and pink. She did not turn when he approached, but she shifted on the wooden swing to make room for I have been meaning to talk to you, Jacob said, lowering himself onto the seat beside her. I suspected as much. Clara's voice carried a note of something he could not identify. You have that look about you, the same look travelers get before they announce their departure. I need to return to my home, he admitted. I left things unfinished when I disappeared into that forest. People probably think I am dead. Clara nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Of course, you have responsibilities, a life waiting for you. Nothing much of a life, if I am being honest. Jacob watched her profile, memorizing the curve of her nose, the way her lips pressed together when she was thinking. A small cabin, some land that has never been properly farmed, no family left to speak of. That sounds lonely. It was. He paused, weighing his next words carefully. It did not feel lonely until I came here, until I learned what it meant to share meals with someone, to have conversations that stretched past sunset, to wake up knowing there was a reason to get out of bed beyond mere survival. Clara finally turned to look at him. The fading sunlight caught in her eyes, turning them luminous. What are you saying, Jacob? I am saying that I will return to Copper Ridge to settle my affairs. I am saying that I will sell everything I own because none of it matters anymore. And I am saying that I would like to come back here, if you would have me. Her breath caught audibly. Have you? In whatever capacity you would allow. His heart pounded against his ribs like a wild horse fighting a corral. I know I have nothing to offer you. No fortune, no fancy name. Just two working hands and a heart that has somehow become yours without my permission." Clara was silent for a long moment, and Jacob felt his courage begin to falter. He had overstepped. He had misread her. Kindness for something deeper. And now he would leave this place, with rejection burning in his chest alongside the gratitude. Then she laughed, not mockingly, but with joy that bubbled up from somewhere deep within her.
"Without your permission?"
"Jacob Wilder, do you think my heart sought my approval before it started caring for you?" He stared at her, afraid to believe what her words implied. "Clara, I have watched you work yourself to exhaustion trying to repay a debt that never existed," she interrupted, turning on the swing to face him fully. "I have seen you charm the children at the schoolhouse, help old Mr. Patterson carry his groceries, and spend 3 hours fixing Mrs. Chen's wagon wheel without accepting a single coin in return. I have seen your character, Jacob. I know who you are. Then you know I am just a simple cowboy with nothing but calluses to show for 10 years of labor. I know you are a man who walked out of a forest that should have killed him. I know you are kind and honest and stubborn in the best possible ways." She reached out and took his hand in hers, her fingers warm against his weathered skin. "And I know that I do not want you to leave." Jacob felt something unlock in his chest, something he had kept barred and guarded since the day his parents died and left him alone in the world. "I have to go back, just to finish things properly. But I swear to you, Clara Bishop, I will return. Nothing short of death itself will stop me. Then I will wait." She squeezed his hand firmly. "But do not take too long. I have become rather accustomed to having you around." He left the next morning on a borrowed horse, with enough supplies to see him safely back to Copper Ridge. Clara stood on the porch as he rode away, her figure growing smaller in his vision until the road curved and she disappeared from sight. He carried her image with him, Lee. She a treasure tucked close to his heart. The journey took 6 days. Copper Ridge greeted him like a ghost returned from the grave, which, in a sense, he was. Friends he had thought lost forever clapped him on the back, demanded to hear his story, and supplied him with more meals than his stomach could hold. He told them about the forest, about the darkness that nearly claimed him, about the stream that led him to salvation. He did not tell them about Clara, not yet. That was his secret, his private hope, too precious to share with curious tongues. Settling his affairs took 3 weeks. He sold his land to a young couple newly arrived from the east, eager to start their life on the frontier. He donated his parents' belongings to the church, keeping only his father's pocket watch and his mother's Bible. He said goodbye to the town that had raised him, knowing he was not abandoning it, but rather carrying it with him into a new chapter. When Jacob rode back into Miller's Crossing on a crisp winter morning, snow dusted the ground like powdered sugar. The town looked different, covered in white, cleaner somehow, like the world had been made fresh overnight. He tied his horse outside the boarding house and climbed the familiar steps to the porch. Clara opened the door before he could knock. She wore a green dress that matched her eyes, and her hair fell loose around her shoulders instead of pinned beneath a bonnet. She looked like she had been waiting by the window, watching for him, and the thought made his heart swell beyond what he had believed possible. "You came back," she whispered. "I made a promise." He removed his hat and held it against his chest. "I am not a man who breaks his word." She launched herself into his arms, and he caught her easily, lifting her off the ground as if she weighed nothing at all. She laughed against his neck, her breath warm on his. Cold skin. And he knew in that moment that he had found what the forest had tried to steal from him. He had found home. They married in the spring, when wildflowers carpeted the valley and the river ran high with melted snow. The whole town attended, strangers who had become family in the months Jacob had spent among them. Clara wore white lace, and Jacob wore his best shirt, freshly pressed by his own clumsy hands. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Jacob kissed her softly, reverently, as if she were something sacred, because to him she was. That evening, as they stood together on the porch of their boarding house, watching the sunset paint the sky in familiar shades of orange and pink, Clara leaned her head against his shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Jacob considered the question. He thought about the forest that had nearly killed him, about the stream that saved him, about the strange turns of fate that had led him here. He thought about loneliness and gratitude and the unexpected gift of love found in the aftermath of disaster. "I am thinking," he said slowly, "that getting lost was the best thing that ever happened to me." Clara smiled and pressed closer to his side. "Then I am grateful for that wild forest. So am I." He wrapped his arm around her shoulders, holding her close as the stars began to emerge overhead, the same stars that had guided him through darkness, now witnessing the light he had found. "So am I,"